Okay, so now being recorded. Omajnana Tmirandasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshon Vitanjena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So we're beginning this new journey and praying that Śrī Īśopaniṣad can make some dent within our hard hearts, at least my hard heart, and help to awaken our eyes, awaken our hearts to the higher plane of loving sacrifice and dedication to Sri Guru, Sri Gauranga. And, you know, my confession is that nowadays I don't really read other than what we read in our Zoom meetings. And I've never read Īśopaniṣad, and I would really like to read it. And so I thought it would be a nice, and Jayadev mentioned it a little while ago. And Radhanu Rupini also messaged me this morning saying, oh, I really like to read Īśopaniṣad. And it feels like a valuable text that we can go through together as a group. There are many Upanishads, so I think most of our group is pretty familiar, but we can mention something. The Upanishads, they represent a section of the Veda which have some special dignity, you know, in the sense that they're dealing exclusively with spiritual subject matters. You know, the Vedas are very diverse and they're encouraging everyone from whatever point of realization they're at, and sometimes mixed with mundane aspirations. But the Upanishads, they're purely dealing with spiritual subject matter, and also in a very abstract way, which can draw a wider audience, you know, because when you come to the subject of bhakti, things get a bit more narrowed, because then there's the worship of the personality of divinity, and not everyone is ready to embrace that. The Upanishads, they're more widely accepted and honored because they're very abstract, right? And you know, they speak about the divinity, they speak about Brahman, but there's not so much specific information. There's a lot of room for interpretation. And I'm not so familiar with the Upanishads, but this is, you know, from what we've heard from our gurus and a few quotes here and there, different verses therein, then we have some idea. Now this Īśopaniṣad, so Isha means the Lord, right? So this, and you know, generally referring to Vishnu, as I understand. So this Īśopaniṣad, from what I understand, is a little more bhakti focused than others. And the fact that Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupad specifically chose to publish this with his own commentary, it's very significant. You know, it's the only Upanishad which he has given that type of focus and emphasis to, with his purports and everything. So that pretty much tells us everything that we need to know, that, you know, indicating how important this book is for us. It is not so long, actually. It's only it's like 18 verses. And then there's commentary from His Divine Grace. So we can go through that. And also I was thinking we could also, where available, we could also look at the comments of Srila Govinda Maharaj and Srila Sridhar Maharaj on the verses that we're going through. So I'll also try to be prepared for that. And before we dive in, I'd really love to hear from some of our senior members. I'm sure Radhanu Rupini Didi has something to share about Īśopaniṣad. It's probably a book that you first read early on in the ISKCON movement. Oh, you're okay. There we go.
I was just talking to my daughter. I thought she was going to need some help. What were you asking? I'm sorry, Vishaka.
Just that before we dive into Īśopaniṣad, it'd be nice to hear something from those who already have some acquaintance. And I'm sure that it's a text that you went through quite early on in your years in ISKCON.
My favorite one is text 16, but I just remember that. I haven't read it a long time, but I think it begins with Om Purnam, that one. And it's just such a beautiful description of Govinda, Krishna Govinda, and it really talks in the beginning more about his, his like a personal form of him and his manifestation. It's just, I don't know, I remember reading it and I was just thinking, wow, it's pretty cosmic, it was like, it's a really, it's a really great description. I mean, it's a different type, I feel like a more magnanimous, when you read it, you feel the magnanimousness of the Lord and in his different manifestations. So that's why I really liked it. Yeah, but text 16 was my favorite.
Oh, beautiful.
Anyway.
We can have a quick look at it right now. Look here. Are you sure it's 16 or are you sure it's Om Purnam Madap Purnamidam? Because 16 is a different verse.
Yeah, 16 is a different verse. Om Purnam is the first one, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. So it's verse 16. Okay, so it's Pushan Ikarsha Yama Surya Prajapatya Yuharashmin Samuha Tejo Yat Terupam Kalyanatamam Tate Pashyami Yosavaso Purusha Soham Asmi. O my Lord, O primeval philosopher, maintainer of the universe, O regulating principle, destination of the pure devotees, well-wisher of the progenitors of mankind, please remove the effulgence of your transcendental rays so that I can see your form of bliss. You are the eternal supreme personality of Godhead, like unto the sun, as am I. Wow, I love it. This might end up being my favorite verse too. Please remove the effulgence of your transcendental rays.
Yes, so please remove the effulgence.
How beautiful. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, well, I'll save that one for later, just a little taster. And Suvasini Didi, I'm sure you've also read Īśopaniṣad already. Would you like to share?
No, Didi, actually, I'm also looking forward to going through with you all. I haven't read it myself. Yeah, and we know the first verse and, quoted the few verses quoted by Gurudev and Guru Maharaj. So those things we know, but there is he's so near and he's also very far. That also comes in the Īśopaniṣad somewhere. That's also
Tadure Tadvantike.
Yeah, Tadure that also comes. So that's I just heard here from Gurudev. That's all. But I haven't gone through myself, completely. So it will be nice. Yeah, looking forward to that. Yeah.
Anyone else here who's already read it, want to share any reflections or something about their experience reading it? Okay, then we can dive in. Well, I have it pulled up here in Database, so I think I'll do a screen share that we've been doing.
Can I interrupt?
Can you make me a co-host, Didi, and I can screen share? Yes, Dana, please.
I think that it's verse 15, the one right before the 16, that had really touched my heart one time, and I actually saw it in a Bhagavatam, it was like reference. I don't remember which Bhagavatam verse it was, but in the actual like Bhagavatam, it broke it down into, "Oh Lord, you are the maintainer of everything, both material and spiritual, and everything flourishes by your mercy. Your devotional service or bhakti yoga is the actual principle of religion, Satya Dharma, and I am engaged in that service, so kindly protect me by showing your real face. Please therefore remove the veil of your Brahmajyoti rays so that I can see your form of eternal bliss and knowledge." And I believe it said it was 15. But I've never read this
It's
before.
also, I'm looking at 15 now, and the translation is a little different, but that is what is being expressed here. Yes.
So I just wanted to share that one always touched my heart when I read it. And but,
It is very heart capturing, isn't it? That sentiment, because it's kind of like, disregarding the Brahmajyoti, but not in a disrespectful way. It's more that the heart wants something more, right? Like I'm hungry for a closer, more intimate relationship with you. Please, give that to me. I'm not interested in this, blinding, dazzling, glorious effulgence that's surrounding you. But my heart needs something else. My heart needs your loving connection, loving, personal, intimate connection. So it's a very poignant, heart-touching sentiment. I love it. My heart's totally captured by this. Well, thank you for sharing that, Dana.
It kind of tells the impersonalists that there's something beyond the Brahmajyoti.
Okay, so we'll do a screen share, and so let me see now. Wait, first I have to figure out where did I pull that up? Okay, I'm still getting used to using a Mac. Things seem to be a little different here. So is this what I want here? Well, how do I? No, this isn't it. I had it pulled up on another tab, but it seems to have disappeared. Okay, oh, here it is. Okay, I found it. Okay.
It says your screen sharing is paused. Sometimes
is it screen share?
You're gonna have to restart it because sometimes when you click resume share. Right
okay. There. Oh, but it's because I chose the wrong screen to share. Okay, so I need to see. This is what I find a little strange.
You have to click the one that.
Here it is. Okay. Yeah, it's more clear on Windows. Okay. So, well, Subhasini, do you want to start us off? Do you want to read this introduction from Srila Swami Maharaj?
Yes, sure. Yes, yeah. Try. So this is the introduction to Śrī Īśopaniṣad by Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad. So introduction, teaching of the Vedas, delivered as a lecture by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada on October 6, 1969 at Conway Hall, London, England. Ladies and gentlemen, today's subject matter is the teachings of the Vedas. What are the Vedas? The Sanskrit verbal root of Veda can be interpreted variously, but the purport is finally one. Veda means knowledge. Any knowledge you accept is Veda. But the teachings of the Vedas are the original knowledge. In the conditioned state, our knowledge is subjected to many deficiencies. The difference between a conditioned soul and the liberated soul is that the conditioned soul has 4 kinds of defects. The first defect is that he must commit mistakes. For example, in our country, Mahatma Gandhi was considered to be a very great personality, but he committed many mistakes. Even at the last stage of his life, his assistant warned, Mahatma Gandhi, don't go to the New Delhi meeting. I have some friends and I have heard that there is danger. But he did not hear. He persisted in going and was killed. Even the great personalities like Mahatma Gandhi, President Kennedy, there are so many of them, make mistakes. To err is human. This is one defect of the conditioned soul. Another defect, to be illusioned. Illusion means to accept something which is not. Maya. Maya means what is not. Everyone is accepting the body as the self. If I ask you what you are, you will say, I'm Mr. John, I'm a rich man, I'm this, I'm that. All these are bodily identifications, but you're not this body. This is illusion. The third defect is the cheating propensity. Everyone has the propensity to cheat others. Although a person is fool number 1, he poses himself as very intelligent. Although it is already pointed out that he is in illusion and makes mistakes, he will theorize. I think this is this, this is this. But he does not even know his own position. He writes books of philosophy, although he is defective. That is his disease. That is cheating. Lastly, our senses are imperfect. We are very proud of our eyes. Often someone will challenge, can you show me God? But do you have the eyes to see God? You will never see if you haven't the eyes. If immediately the room becomes dark, you cannot even see your hands. So what power do you have to see? We cannot, therefore, expect knowledge, Veda, with these imperfect senses. With all these deficiencies in conditioned life, we cannot give perfect knowledge to anyone, nor are we ourselves perfect. Therefore, we accept the Vedas as they are. You may call the Vedas Hindu, but Hindu is a foreign name. We are not Hindus. Our real identification is Varnashrama. Varnashrama denotes the followers of the Vedas, those who accept the human society in 8 divisions of Varna and Ashrama. There are 4 divisions of society and 4 divisions of spiritual life. This is called Varnashrama. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita. These divisions are everywhere because they are created by God. The divisions of society are Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. Brahmana refers to the very intelligent class of men, those who know what is Brahman. Similarly, the Kshatriyas, the administrator group, are the next intelligent class of men. Then the Vaishyas, the mercantile group. These natural classifications are found everywhere. This is the Vedic principle, and we accept it. Vedic principles are accepted as axiomatic truth, for there cannot be any mistake. That is acceptance. For instance, in India, cow dung is accepted as pure, and yet cow dung is the stool of an animal. In one place, you'll find the Vedic injunctions that if you touch stool, you have to take a bath immediately. But in another place, it is said that the stool of a cow is pure. If you smear cow dung in an impure place, that place becomes pure. With our ordinary sense, we can argue this is contradictory. Actually, it is contradictory from the ordinary point of view, but it is not false. It is fact. In Calcutta, a very prominent scientist and doctor analyzed cow dung and found that it contains all antiseptic properties. In India, if one person tells another, you must do this, the other party may say, what do you mean? Is this a Vedic injunction that I have to follow you without any argument? Vedic injunctions cannot be interpreted, but ultimately, if you carefully study why these injunctions are there, you will find that they are all correct. The Vedas are not compilations of human knowledge. Vedic knowledge comes from the spiritual world, from Lord Krishna. Another name for the Veda is Shruti. Shruti refers to that knowledge which is acquired by hearing. It is not experimental knowledge. Shruti is considered to be like a mother. We take so much knowledge from our mother. For example, if you want to know who your father is, who can answer you? Your mother. If the mother says, here is your father, you have to accept it. It is not possible to experiment to find out whether he is your father. Similarly, if you want to know something beyond your experience, beyond your experimental knowledge, beyond the activities of the senses, then you have to accept the Vedas. There's no question of experimenting. It has already been experimented. It is already settled. The version of the mother, for instance, has to be accepted as truth. There is no other way. The Vedas are considered to be the mother, and Brahma is called the grandfather, the forefather, because he was the first to be instructed in the Vedic knowledge. In the beginning, the first living creature was Brahma. He received this Vedic knowledge and imparted it to Narada and other disciples and sons, and they also distributed it to their disciples. In this way, the Vedic knowledge comes down by disciplic succession. It is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that Vedic knowledge is understood in this way. If you make experimental endeavor, you come to the same conclusion, but just to save time, you should accept. If you want to know who your father is, and if you accept your mother as the authority, then whatever she says can be accepted without argument. There are three kinds of evidence: pratyaksha, anumana, and shabda. Pratyaksha means direct evidence. Direct evidence is not very good because our senses are not perfect. We are seeing the sun daily and it appears to us just like a small disk, but it is actually far, far larger than many planets. What value is this seeing? Therefore, we have to read books. Then we can understand about the sun. So direct experience is not perfect. Then there is anumana, inductive knowledge. It may be like this, hypothesis. For instance, Darwin's theory says it may be like this, it may be like that, but that is not science. That is a suggestion, and it is also not perfect. But if you receive the knowledge from the authoritative sources, that is perfect. If you receive a program guide from the radio station authorities, you accept it. You don't deny it. You don't have to make an experiment because it is received from the authoritative sources. Vedic knowledge is called Shabda Pramana. Another name is Shruti. Shruti means that this knowledge has to be received simply by oral reception. The Vedas instruct that in order to understand transcendental knowledge, we have to hear from the authority. Transcendental knowledge is knowledge from beyond this universe. Within this universe is material knowledge, and beyond this universe is transcendental knowledge. We cannot even go to the end of the universe. So how can we go to the spiritual world? Thus, to acquire full knowledge is impossible. There is a spiritual sky. There is another nature. which is beyond manifestation and non-manifestation. But how will you know that there is a sky where the planets and inhabitants are eternal? All this knowledge is there, but how will you make experiments? It is not possible. Therefore, you have to take the assistance of the Vedas. This is called the Vedic knowledge. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we are accepting knowledge from the highest authority, Krishna. Krishna is accepted as the highest authority by all classes of men. I am speaking first of the two classes of transcendentalists. One class of transcendentalists is called impersonalistic, Mayavadi. They are generally known as Vedantists, led by Shankaracharya. And there's another class of transcendentalists called Vaishnavas, like Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Vishnu Swami. Both the Sankara Sampradaya and the Vaishnava Sampradaya have accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shankaracharya is supposed to be an impersonalist who preached impersonalism, impersonal Brahman, but it is a fact that he is covered personalist. In his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, he wrote, Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is beyond this cosmic manifestation. And then again, he confirmed that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, is Krishna. He has come as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva. He particularly mentioned the names of his father and mother. So Krishna is accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead by all transcendentalists. There is no doubt about it. Our source of knowledge in Krishna consciousness is the Bhagavad Gita, which comes directly from Krishna. We have published Bhagavad Gita as it is because we accept Krishna as he is speaking without any interpretation. That is Vedic knowledge. Since the Vedic knowledge is pure, we accept it. Whatever Krishna says, we accept. This is Krishna consciousness. That saves much time. If you accept the right authority or source of knowledge, then you save much time. For example, there are two systems of knowledge in the material world, inductive and deductive. From deductive, you accept that man is mortal. Your father says man is mortal. Your sister says man is mortal. Everyone says man is mortal, but you do not experiment. You accept it as a fact that man is mortal. If you want to research to find out whether man is mortal, you have to study each and every man, and you may come to think that there may be some man who is not dying, but you have not seen him yet. So in this way, your research will never be finished. In Sanskrit, this process is called aroha, the ascending process. If you want to attain knowledge by any personal endeavor by exercising your imperfect senses, you will never come to the right conclusions. That is not possible. There is a statement in the Brahma Samhita. Just ride on the airplane which runs at the speed of mind. Our material airplanes can run 2,000 miles per hour. But what is the speed of mind? You're sitting at home, you immediately think of India, say 10,000 miles away, and at once it is in your home. Your mind has gone there. The mind speed is so swift. Therefore, it is stated, if you travel at this speed for millions of years, you'll find that the spiritual sky is unlimited. It is not possible even to approach it. Therefore, the Vedic injunction is that one must approach. The word compulsory is used. A bona fide spiritual master, a guru. And what is the qualification of a and what is the qualification of a spiritual master? He's the one who has rightly heard the Vedic message from the right source. And he must practically be firmly established in Brahman. These are the two qualities he must have. Otherwise, he is not bona fide. This Krishna consciousness movement is completely authorized from Vedic principles. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, the actual aim of Vedic research is to find out Krishna. The Brahma Samhita, it is also stated, Krishna, Govinda, has innumerable forms, but they are all one. They are not like our forms, which are fallible. His form is infallible. My form has a beginning, but his form has no beginning. It is Nanta. And his form, so many multi-forms, has no end. My form is sitting here and not in my apartment. You are sitting there and not in your apartment. But Krishna can be everywhere at one time. He can sit down in Goloka Vrindavan. At the same time, he's everywhere, all pervading. He is original, the oldest. But whenever you look at a picture of Krishna, you'll find a young boy, 15 or 20 years old. You will never find an old man. You have seen pictures of Krishna as a charioteer from the Bhagavad Gita. At that time, he was not less than 100 years old. He had great grandchildren, but he looked just like a boy. Krishna, God, never becomes old. That is his supreme power. And if you want to search out Krishna by studying the Vedic literature, then you will be baffled. It may be possible, but it is very difficult. But you can very easily learn about him from his devotee. His devotee can deliver him to you. Here he is, take him. That is the potency of Krishna's devotees. Originally, there was only one Veda, and there was no necessity of reading it. People were so intelligent and had such sharp memories that by once hearing from the lips of the spiritual master, they would understand. They would immediately grasp the whole purport. But 5,000 years ago, Vyasadeva put the Vedas in writing for the people in this age, Kali Yuga. He knew that eventually the people would be short-lived, their memories would be very poor, and their intelligence would not be very sharp. Therefore, let me teach this Vedic knowledge in writing. He divided the Vedas into 4, Rig, Sama, Atharva, and Yajur. Then he gave the charge of these Vedas to his different disciples. He then thought of the less intelligent class of men, Strī, Sudra, and Dvija Bandhu. He considered the woman class and Sudra class, Swarka class, and Dvija Bandhu. Dvija Bandhu refers to those who are born in a high family, but who are not properly qualified. A man who is born in the family of a Brahmana, but is not qualified as a Brahmana, is called Dvija Bandhu. For these persons, he compiled the Mahabharata, called the history of India, and the 18 Puranas. These are all part of the Vedic literature. The Puranas, the Mahabharata, the 4 Vedas, and the Upanishads. The Upanishads are part of the Vedas. Then Vyasadeva summarized all Vedic knowledge for scholars and philosophers in what is called the Vedanta Sutra. This is the last word of the Vedas. Vyasadeva personally wrote the Vedanta Sutra under the instruction of Narada, his Guru Maharaj, his spiritual master, but still he was not satisfied. There is a long history described in Srimad Bhagavatam. Vedavyas was not very satisfied even after compiling many Puranas and Upanishads and even after writing the Vedanta Sutra. Then his spiritual master Narada instructed him, "You explain the Vedanta Sutra." Vedanta means ultimate knowledge, but the ultimate knowledge is Krishna. Krishna says that throughout all the Vedas, one has to understand him. Vedashya sarvair aham meva vedya. Krishna also says, Vedanta krit vedavit eva chaham. I am the compiler of the Vedanta Sutra, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Therefore, the ultimate objective is Krishna. That is explained in all the Vaishnava commentaries on Vedanta philosophy. We Gaudiya Vaishnavas have our commentary on Vedanta philosophy called Govinda Bhashya by Baladev Vidyabhushan. Similarly, Ramanujacharya has a commentary and Madhvacharya has one. The version of Sankaracharya is not the only commentary. There are many Vedanta commentaries, but because the Vaishnavas did not present the first Vedanta commentary, people are under the wrong impression that Shankaracharya's is the only Vedanta commentary. Besides that, Vyasadeva himself wrote the perfect Vedanta commentary, Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam begins with the first verse of the Vedanta Sutra, Janmadasya Yataha. And that Janmadasya Yataha is fully explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. The Vedanta Sutra simply hints at what is Brahman, the absolute truth. The absolute truth is that from whom everything emanates. This is a summary, but it is explained in detail in Srimad Bhagavatam. If everything is emanating from the absolute truth, then what is the nature of the absolute truth? That is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. The absolute truth must be consciousness. He is self-effulgent, Swarat. We develop our consciousness and knowledge by receiving knowledge from others. But for him, it is said that he is self-effulgent. The whole summary of Vedic knowledge is the Vedanta Sutra. The Vedanta Sutra is explained by the writer himself in Srimad Bhagavatam. We finally request those who are actually after Vedic knowledge to try to understand the explanation of all try to understand the explanation of all Vedic knowledge from Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita. Yes.
Hey, we did it. Thank you, Subhasini Didi. Didi, do you want to share any thoughts after going through that wonderfully clear introduction from Srila Swami Maharaj?
Yeah, it's very clear. Everything he is, explained so clearly, isn't it? It's all the different, from the basic things, right? For anyone who is new to, the Vedic knowledge, he has explained everything very clearly. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Didi. Anyone else want to share any thoughts, any reflection, anything that particularly struck you?
Maybe you have something to share, Vishaka.
Yeah, Pintamini also has something to share.
I was just going to say, I really like this breakdown of the defects. That just that was this is one of the first books I read when I joined the Krishna Consciousness movement. And so that really, those 4 defects really convinced me that this is something I really need to pursue. So I love that. Thank you.
Can you remind us again what they are?
Symptoms of a conditioned soul.
It's a good one. Good one. We have lots of lists, right?
Symptoms of the conditioned soul.
Sorry, what did you say, Didi?
It's the symptoms of the conditioned soul. Is that what she's talking about?
That's right. Yeah, the 4 defects of the conditioned soul.
See, the tendency to make mistakes, to be an illusion.
To be illusioned.
To be illusioned. The cheating propensity, and the last one, Oh dear. Oh, imperfect
Imperfect
senses.
memory.
Okay, I
Imperfect
knew
memory.
Senses, imperfect, oh, imperfect memory.
that. Yes.
That's pretty witty. Yeah, it's a helpful lesson. You know, that's one of the points that I appreciate a lot also about what Srila Swami Maharaj is explaining here, that, you know, this is really the beginning of spiritual life, that we're recognizing our limitations, right? We're recognizing our limitations. And once you recognize your limitation, then the natural, honest reaction to that is to seek one who doesn't have those limitations, right? To seek the shelter and the instruction, the guidance from one who isn't suffering from the same, you know, defects that we are. You know, that's what surrender is, right? That's what humility is. And we see persons who, you know, sometimes we see persons come to Krishna, they're attracted to Krishna consciousness, but they struggle with these concocted ideas that have been collected, you know, in the world outside, temporary ideas. And there's this resistance because the ego wants to, this is the nature of the ego. It wants to assert itself. The word pratishta is the Sanskrit word that we commonly use to refer to this arrogance. And it actually, what it literally means is this type of self-establishment, that we want to establish ourselves. You know, sta, this is pratishta, that we want to establish ourselves. So the ego is naturally resisting. And then also, you know, and this is a point that Srila Saraswati Thakur made, that the whole style of Western education, modern Western society, it's supporting this humanistic spirit of, you know, independence and superiority, wanting to be a cut above others, right? So Saraswati Thakur, he made this point that anyone who's had a Western education, they'll struggle with coming to take the shelter of Guru. But it's actually just common sense. It's just common sense. It's just honesty that I'm limited. My understanding is limited. My perception is limited. My experience, everything about me is finite and limited. And not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just an honest a recognition of who and what we are. And then what's the beautiful conclusion? We take shelter of a higher source of knowledge. We take shelter of a higher guide. Right? And then everything is beautifully adjusted and harmonized, and we can grow infinitely. So, and I like also how Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupad, he said here that, you know, we don't want to waste our time. You know, it's like if your mother says this is your father, we just believe it. Why should we waste our time going to the laboratory and doing all these tests? Just believe your mother, you know. So this is the basis of the culture of faith, right? That we recognize this is a higher source of knowledge. Right? Knowledge beyond the plane of mortality. We have this wonderful phrase in the Śrī Maharaj. Knowledge beyond, we are mortal and limited. So let us seek a source of knowledge that is beyond the plane of mortality. That must be a superior source of knowledge. And then once we come to that, if we find that, and we will find, right, that there will be points at which there's it's like we want that higher plane to fit into our little small box of ideas, but it should be the opposite. Like once we come to some confrontation of our limited understanding and that higher source of knowledge, then we, instead of questioning that, we have to question ourselves. Because I know maybe I don't understand everything maybe that I'm hearing. Maybe it doesn't all fit into my current set of ideas, but I understand the basis of it all, the premise of it all is that I'm limited and that's unlimited, that I'm finite and that is infinite, that I am imperfect and that is perfect. That's the premise of this all. So then we have to remember that fundamental basis, the fundamental basis of what this whole search is about. Right. And once we can really like imbibe that feeling, remember that at every step, then we'll understand when there's some conflict of our understanding and that higher knowledge. I have to question myself. How can I adjust my understanding, not not question that higher source and throw it away, but how can I adjust my vision? So this, you know, Suvasini was saying, this is all very clearly being expounded upon by Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupad. And another phrase which really jumped out at me was where Srila Swami Maharaj is saying how the pure devotee can deliver Krishna to us. There's one expression of Srila Saraswati Thakur where he says that Krishna is the personal property of his devotees. What is that line? Asvatancha Eva Dvija, like that. Aham Bhakta Pradino Yasvatancha Eva Dvija. Right? Krishna saying that, you know, it is as if I have no independence. You know, I'm bound by the love of my pure devotee. I'm bound by their love. So this is our process, right? We take shelter of the pure devotees of the Lord. They have Krishna like Baladev Vijabhushan, right? He has that beautiful prayer, you know, describing how Govinda, Krishna, he's like a jewel in the palm of their hands. They've got him in the palm of their hands. Sweel and Isabel has entered the waiting room. Does anyone know who that is? I don't know who that is. Sweel and Isabel. I don't know who it is. It could be one of our, if someone's mother said they might join. I don't know. What do you think? Should we let them in? So let's take a risk and let them in.
Mercy over justice.
We're coming to the end of our meeting anyway. If we get hats, then it's okay. We had a good run. Okay. Let's see. Any other points here? Anyone else? And welcome Narayani. Narayani also joined us. Anyone else have any points they'd like to bring up what we heard in this introduction?
I've heard in other places, I've read. Can you hear me, Didi?
Yes.
Okay. I've read also in other books the way the conditioned souls defects were imperfect memory and then imperfect senses, because the memory is separate from the senses, and then propensity to cheat and be cheated. So you can cheat someone and somebody could cheat you. And the fourth was to be illusion. I've also heard it that way. That's pretty same. I mean, meaning Srila Prabhupada has also written it that way in other parts. And I read it recently in the Gita.
Sure. Well, thank you for sharing, Didi. Our internet. Yeah. Our connection's a little unstable, unfortunately. Can you all hear and see us over here?
Yeah, I can hear you, but sometimes a little frozen, the picture.
Okay, but the sound is still going.
Yeah, the sound is okay, yeah.
Okay. Well, let's end with a bit of a preview for next meeting. Now this verse, of course, is very famous. This is actually the invocation of Īśopaniṣad. I suppose we could say it's the most well-known. This was produced by George Harrison, right? It was
Yes,
part of the Radha Krishna album.
I'm not sure which album, but yes, he sings the song.
So it's
And,
very
and
well known.
Yamuna Devi sings this on that album. It's the one that's played for every greeting of the deities. It's her voice, Yamuna.
Okay.
Jamuna, the one that wrote the cookbook.
Right. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, so we'll close with chanting this verse as a preview. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamada
Purnam Eva Sashishati.
And our Gurudev, he really likes this verse. It's a beautiful verse. So Purna is full, right? Complete. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete. Because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly. Whatever is of the complete whole is also. He is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance. Yeah, it's such a it's such an encouraging and like reassuring. I think that's the word I want to say. It's such a comforting, reassuring contemplation. This concept of completeness, wholeness, and that no matter how much is taken, right, away from that, or how much there may be some separation or expansion, it's still whole, right? There are so many extensions, expansions coming from that, but he remains whole. And it's very comforting because, I'll just mention as a side note, Srila Swami Maharaj, she actually compared this concept to zero. 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. To give us some idea. So it's reassuring, I find it, because in this world, there's this constant kind of like discomforting feeling of lack, right? There's never enough. And even if we take this in the realm of wealth, money, finance, even very wealthy people, I see they're always in this anxiety about their wealth. Things are never enough. There's always a lack of satisfaction. There's a lack of completeness. It's actually like a major issue that we all suffer from as conditioned souls. This lack of completeness. We don't feel full, right? We don't feel complete. Something's missing. But here we're entering a world of perfection. It's always perfect. There's the only distinction, and then it's not like this like sheet of blank perfection. It's all just perfect in a blah kind of way. There's still variety there. So what is the variety? What is the distinction? What is the distinguishing factor here? Different degrees of perfection. There are only greater and greater degrees of perfection. It's something that's actually difficult for us to conceive of, that it's all perfect. There are just different degrees of perfection. It's all whole, it's all complete. There are just greater and greater degrees of more completeness, more wholeness, more perfection. We hear these terms, I believe, this uttam, what is it? Do you remember, Suvasanji? What are those three terms? And uttam, uttada,
Sorry, Didi, your connection was lost in a little, a few seconds. What did you say?
I'm trying to remember these three terms. They're used in I think they're mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita in regards to Dwarka Krishna, Mathura Krishna, Vrindavan Krishna. Is it Uttam?
Can't remember. No, I don't know.
Or is it the word Purna that's used? Purna, Purnatada, Purnatam. That may be it. Maybe the word Purna that's used. But translates as, more perfect and most perfect. Right. Much was lost there at all. But the main idea I'm just expressing is this, how reassuring and comforting it is to become acquainted with this concept of a wholeness, a perfect wholeness, a completeness that only becomes more complete and more whole. Because in this world, there's always this kind of like nagging discomfort that there's not enough of something, not enough resources, or not enough, we are not enough. What we have is not enough. What we know is not enough. There's always this kind of anxiety and pressure within us, right? No matter how much we have, the grass is always greener. And there's always this fear, like it's mentioned later in Bhagavad Gita, this what is I'm forgetting now the Sanskrit. The 18, what number is it? We're always between these two things of hankering and then the fear of na sochati, na kankshati. Yeah, these two, sochati, kankshati. Kankshati is referring to this like hankering, this desire that we don't have something and we need it, right? And then then sochati is this, when we do have it, there's this like lamentation, this anxiety that we may lose it, right? So there's always this feeling of lack that we have in this limited finite plane, right? Lacking because it's disconnected from the whole. But what is the nature of that whole? One ek bindu jagat dubai. One drop of the infinite is also infinite. One drop, this is a beautiful phrase in Charitamrita, one drop can drown the whole world. Because one drop is also, our Param Gurudev Srila Sridhar Maharaj, she also uses the example of the Govardhan Shila. Right? One part of the infinite is also infinite. I mean, what a wonderful concept. One could have, like, what's the opposite? What's the opposite of that? What we experience in this world? One may have all the wealth of this world. Think of so many great emperors in the past, right? They're living in anxiety. They don't have enough, or they're going to lose it, right? One could have all the wealth and opulence and power of this world and feel it's not enough because they're disconnected from the supreme whole. And one could have nothing, just have a drop of a connection with the infinite and feel, oh, this is everything, right? This is also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, that if one just once has darshan, that higher plane, they will feel this is everything. I'm complete because I'm connected with the plane of completeness, the wholeness, the perfection. So if we connect with what is actually whole, the plane of true wholeness, we will feel whole. We will feel complete. So this is really wonderful verse. It's a beautiful meditation. I've tried to learn it a few times, but I find it a bit of a tongue twister. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. Okay, well, we're kind of coming to the end of our time. Does anyone want to add any thoughts before we close for today? No. Stop our share.
That's a beautiful point, Didi, what you expressed. It's very nice, actually. This completeness, no? It's beautiful.
Mhm. Alright. Thank you all for your participation. This is a new adventure. We're diving into the ocean, reality, the beautiful, bringing up some gems here and there. And so this Īśopaniṣad is one of those beautiful gems, and we hope the rays of that gem will purify us, uplift us, enlighten us more and more in Krishna consciousness. Right. Jai Śrī Īśopaniṣad ki Jai. Jai Śrīla Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Śrīla Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Śrīla Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupad ki Jai.
Jai.
Suvasini ki Jai. Radhana Rupini Devi ki Jai.
Jai.
All the assembled devotees, sincere seekers ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai. Jai Gaur Premanande.
Evil, Shaka Didi ki Jai. All the
Jai.
simple devotees ki Jai. Jai.
Mhm.
Dhanavad.
Dandavad.
See you all.
Dandavad.
Have a wonderful week.
Dandavad.
Jai, good day.
Jai. Jai.
Jai.